What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the number one podcast on the number one division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network. Joined by your hosts, myself, Alex Fishbein. We got Dennis, Big Sexy Clausen, and we welcome back to the show our man BJ Boyer. What's going on, BJ?
Hey, happy to be back.
Jesus.
Excited for what's to come this episode, and then obviously the playoffs are coming up, so excited to see what happens there as well.
Oh, for sure. The playoffs are right around the corner. Dennis, how you doing?
Whatever BJ just said.
I mean, it sounds like you ate well with that bird that came in.
No, I've been cutting down a little bit. I've dropped some LB, so it was chicken. I had some chicken. I had a protein shake. So yeah, I'm trying not to be as big, as sexy.
I got you. Just the sexy part, not the big part.
Oh, that'll never change.
Never, right? Tell them never.
Exactly. So I was just looking. I actually just sent it to Dennis earlier. The last time we had you on, BJ, was episode 216. Ooh. This week is currently episode 267. So it's been a little bit. It was actually not this past All-Star game, but the All-Star game from last season that you were on. So
it's not uncommon for there to be such a big gap between BJs.
You got that one right. That was an accurate.
I mean, about to say, it's definitely not wrong.
Just normal.
True.
Now, BJ's only come around every so often, so it's nice to, nice to get a BJ back in here again.
I mean, especially when you're married, right, Dennis?
What are you talking about? Talking about our guest.
Just throwing stuff out there.
We're talking about our guest. What are you thinking of? Oh, pervert.
You were like... One of us has to make a perverted joke, or else it's not an episode of the Atlantic Files.
Well, you know I was being perverted.
No, I know. But anyway, back to basketball talk. So, before we get into all the playoffs and everything, since it has been so long, and a lot of things have happened with BJ's own Los Angeles Lakers, we got to get into some Lakers talk right off the bat, because... I'm not going to lie, the season for them has been pretty ridiculous, ranging from LeBron missing time, Anthony Davis missing time, trading away people to get Rui Hachimura, they got Malik Beasley. I mean, what have your thoughts been from preseason to now? Because the hype was big in the preseason because of how good the team could be.
Whew. Oh my goodness, it's been very wide-ranging for the Lakers this season. How can I describe it? I will say if they had their current roster intact for the entirety of the year, they would probably be at least a top 5 seed, in my estimation. And I know they're playing good basketball now. They're scrapping for potentially what is a non-play-in seed in the West. We'll see if they're able to reach that. They have a huge game tomorrow against the Jazz, and then they follow that with another huge game against the Clippers. So we'll see what happens there. But it's, like I said, it's been wide-ranging on my end. I had high expectations based on the outlook of their roster, and it just didn't go as I expected. They would play well for a few games and then look like they belong in the basement of the conference, and then LeBron would have a triple-double. They would win a close one. It was just so much in flux with this team, but they've seemed to cement themselves a little better recently. I will say, since AD has been a Laker, the injury thing has been a commonality. He's missed time every single year. But other than the missed time this season, this has been the best basketball I've seen him play as a Laker since his first year as a Laker when they won the championship in the bubble. He's been dominant on both sides of the ball. And if he could just have the fortune of good health for like even 65, 70 games, the guy would be all NBA, MVP candidate, arguably. I don't think he would win MVP, but he'd at least be somewhat in the discussion. I mean, I don't know this year based on the years Embiid and Jokic have had, but under normal circumstances, he would probably be somewhat in the conversation. I've been very impressed with AD. LeBron has played well since he's come back from his injury, but as a Laker fan, I'm spoiled. Like, I'm cool with making the playoffs, whether it's play-in or just outright, but I'm trying to contend for a championship. I'm trying to be where Denver is, where Memphis is, and like I said, that's just a spoiled Lakers fan talking.
Dennis, I know you were making some faces there.
There's a lot to digest there. Anthony Davis at this point in his career should probably have 2 MVP awards, without question. Like, there's no even he could be in the conversation. There were some years where he should have just flat out been the MVP. And unfortunately, though, and I'll disagree with you there, though, BJ, he was injury prone before he even went to the Lakers. So that's been like the biggest thing throughout his career. He was in the MVP conversation this year, and I believe it was like the episode we were like ranting and raving about him staying healthy is when he got hurt and missed over a month with a foot thing.
I think we jinxed him.
Yeah, we did. So he was in the MVP conversation. Arguably, if he would have kept producing the way he was producing without missing time, he would have been definitely in the MVP conversation, especially with how well the Lakers have been playing lately. But I love it, the fact, too, that you start the show out, Alex, you go, the Lakers have made some moves. This, they got Rui Hachimura and they got Malik Beasley. Nobody said anything about D'Angelo Russell. Is he that irrelevant on that team?
He's not. The reason those two came up is because they were on my
Tony
fan.
Brown or Troy Brown Jr. and they added, when did Gabriel's playing hot and Austin Reeves is stepping up like.
Oh my gosh, woo! He's been. So I always thought he had talent, but Austin Reeves has been bringing it. I'm not gonna lie, he's been even surprising me, especially lately.
I know Austin Reeves doesn't want the AR-15 nickname because of politics reasons, but that's a cold ass nickname. Like he has to keep. We had an AK-47. You can ride with AR-15.
Absolutely.
It's better than what I was called, which was fat fuck.
I mean, it's always going to be better than that. It's better than.
Can I just get an AR-15?
It's better than Jonathan Kuminga's nickname.
Oh my gosh.
What is his nickname?
The cum bucket.
I
knew you just wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry for interrupting you, Dennis.
Well, that's all right. I interrupt you all the time.
True.
No, so we'll see what happens. What up, my man?
Let me ask you something real quick. So you talked about AD in the MVP conversation, right? His first year with the Lakers, I thought he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. And that's not just me being biased. I think he generally should have won that award. But I think it went to Giannis, I believe. That's the year he won Defensive Player and MVP. I wasn't mad at that. He was deserving. But what do you think about that? You think he should have had that one?
Well, he only played 62 games that year.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, I mean, he was relatively healthy. It was more like a COVID thing.
Yeah.
But still, like, thank God COVID was around, because if COVID didn't come around, like, the Lakers wouldn't have had 7 months off to recover between the March and the bubble. So that's, I don't know. That's why so many people have problems with that, because had it not been for COVID, had it not been for Agent Zero, Rudy Gobert, spreading the COVID, the deadly COVID virus amongst the NBA community, the Lakers probably. So if anything, they should be thanking Rudy Gobert for helping them win a championship, for touching the microphones and shit like he was.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, it did let them get healthier and rested, like very well rested before that playoff run. And it is, I just want to go back real quick. It is crazy to me that Anthony Davis hasn't won a Defensive Player of the Year. Even in like the 2 seasons he played for the Pelicans before his very last season with them, he played 75 games, which, I mean, is as big of a chunk as plenty of MVP winners have had and everything. And he led the league in blocks in one of those, while also averaging 1.5 steals, with one of the best defensive ratings in the league at the time. He was at a 102, which, like, the winners of Defensive Player of the Year the last few years are either right around that number or worse than that number.
Yeah, but for a center, 102 is not great. Or for a big man, 102 is not great.
No, it's not. amazing, but it is considering the fact that he was also the team's entire offense.
Well, there's the Pelicans. That's
I
why.
know.
And that goes back to the NBA criteria, though. Since when, the Pelicans haven't been competitive. They started getting competitive maybe last season. But other than that, the Pelicans were the laughing stock of the league back when they had Boogie, that Boogie team there and Drew Holiday was around for a little bit, but they weren't that good. So I'm sure a lot of people took that into consideration when. But honestly, if I was AD, I'd be like, I don't care about Defensive Player of the Year. I just want to win an MVP, and I want to stay healthy enough to win another championship so people can stop breaking my balls. You don't give two shits about the MVP or the All Defensive Player of the Year award.
Fish, his years in New Orleans, who won that? I'm trying to think. Was it Marc Gasol? That might have been past Marc Gasol's like prime defensive window. But that's all I think.
So this was 16-17 and 17-18.
I'm trying to think. Was it
Draymond? Draymond probably won in one of those because I feel like it was both of those years are when Golden State won. That was their back-to-back years. Let's see, 2016-17. For some reason, it only shows MVP and Rookie of the Year on the front page.
Was it? That wasn't Kawhi. He was hurt. He was hurt one of them years. Yeah. What?
So here we go. 16-17 Defensive Player of the Year was Draymond.
Mm-hmm.
And then 17-18 Defensive Player of the Year was Rudy Gobert.
I knew I was missing somebody obvious.
Yeah. So I mean, not saying that those guys don't deserve Defensive Player of the Year, but at least I do think in those years, at least, that Anthony Davis had a very good case for MVP too. And in 16-17, that was when Westbrook won MVP. 17-18 was when Harden won MVP. So,
well, the problem is that he may have been healthy those years, but the Pelicans weren't doing anything, so it's hard to justify naming somebody an MVP when your team sucks.
True. But I will say, like, the counter argument to that is the fact they did get, I think they only got like an 8 seed or a 7 seed or whatever it may be. But if they didn't have Rudy Gobert, they'd probably be a lottery team. Or, sorry, not Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis.
Very true. Yeah, that's when they matched up with Portland in that first round and swept them, right? Like it was a surprise. It was an upset kind of.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I remember it now because that's right before Boogie right after Boogie got hurt. He got hurt. They were playing Houston and he went for a rebound like the last 10 seconds and blew out his Achilles.
Mm-hmm. And that, I think the year before that was when they took on Golden State in the first round and they lost in 5, but the one they won was when Anthony Davis hit like the buzzer beater in the corner for a 3. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure that was that.
Yeah, you're too. Right. Yeah. Now that I think about it, you're right. Yep, you are.
So, I mean, yeah. All in all, Anthony Davis definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. He still has a pretty great resume. I mean, 8-time All-Star, 4-time All-NBA, 4-time All-Defense. All rookie team, also now champion with the Lakers, led the league in blocks 3 separate seasons. Like his resume is still up there with a lot of the great big men of the modern era, at least.
Did y'all like his inclusion on the All 75 list, or did y'all find that questionable?
No, he does. You kidding me? He deserves to be on that list.
Yeah,
for sure.
I was gonna say I think there's other people on that list that were more questionable than him.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah,
that dude Anthony Davis is a fantastic player. Just his problem, he has like Luka Doncic type influence whenever he plays. He's like that level of player. He's that good. The problem is he just can't stay healthy. Not that Luka's like the healthiest guy on the planet, because he's not, but you can argue that had AD stayed healthy, he at least may have one more title to his resume.
True. I swear to y'all, if the Lakers had stayed healthy the year after winning the championship and they played Phoenix in the first round, we would have beat the Suns. I'm telling y'all that right now. We would have beat Phoenix if they're fully healthy, because we were in that series even with the health in limbo, like AD was hobbled, LeBron was hobbled, but just health wasn't in our favor. And unfortunately, we lost to Phoenix, who ended up obviously making the finals. They had a fantastic run, but that's my hot take. That's my Lakers hot take.
I mean,
I won't disagree with you.
yeah, the Phoenix was very beatable. They were just one of those teams that ran into every team that had somebody injured.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right about that, because I thought they were going to lose to the Clippers, but then Kawhi was out for the whole series.
Right. And then they battle the Mavericks after that?
It went Lakers. Who they play in the second round? It was,
or maybe it was Mavericks in the second round.
Too much thinking going on tonight.
It might have been Dallas they played. I'm trying to think. You got me thinking now, Fish.
Because I thought because that was when they had their like big rivalry, and then like when Luka and Booker started hating each other, or maybe that was last season. Maybe I'm thinking of last season instead.
Who did the Suns play in the second? Was it because the Jazz didn't? Nah, it wasn't the Jazz.
Oh wait,
I'm gonna have a brain aneurysm.
Phoenix beat the Lakers 4-2, and then they beat the Nuggets 4-0.
The Nuggets,
and then they played the Clippers.
That's why I guess I can't remember that series, because it was a quick sweep. Wasn't really memorable.
Yeah, I mean, their starting center can't play defense, so.
Yeah, that's my guy. I love Jokic, but he's not going to guard nobody.
Exactly. But anyway,
well, you don't need to though. When you score 800 points a game and you're on the triple double bubble every game, you don't really need to. I mean, he's got to have a weakness somewhere. He's just like Luka. Luka can't play defense either.
Luka's defense is hilarious.
Oh my gosh, the Mavericks are bad. They're really bad.
Before we get to the Mavericks, though, I just want to ask, so when they finally made some deals, they brought in Hachimura, they brought back D'Lo, they brought in Beasley and those guys. Were you thinking like that was going to push them finally over the edge, or did you think it was kind of just to tread water until the offseason, they reload and then try and go for it next season instead?
That's what I feel like their approach was. I love the fact that they did trade for D'Lo. I think he's very talented. He obviously has familiarity with the franchise, but I also love the fact that they're not tied to him in terms of longevity. Like if they want to let him walk this summer, they can let him walk and try to retain someone, like get somebody else, grab somebody that they feel may fit the team better. But if they want to retain him, they can retain him. Now I don't know if he's going to like the dollar amount that they may offer him. I don't know what his goal is financially, but I like the moves. I was a little skeptical about the Rui Hachimura move. I know that he has had moments of promise in Washington, but that's also been backed by a lot of inconsistency as well. He's performed okay for the Lakers, a little inconsistent. Love Beasley, love Vanderbilt, huge D'Lo fan. Love that.
Vanderbilt, that's the one I was forgetting of.
Austin Reeves has been given more of an opportunity to showcase his stuff, and he's leaning into that with confidence, so I love to see that. I like their moves. I wish Mo Bamba was healthy. I'd be curious to see how he would fit in the mix, but I'm very content with their moves, and it gives them an opportunity to reevaluate this summer, and I think this is it for them. Like the LeBron AD title window, that happened, and AD joined in 2019, 2020. We're now in 2023. Next year will be going towards 2024. I think that's it. Like LeBron is a robot, but he's not going to be dominant and spry and looking young forever. There's going to be a point where Father Time comes and it's like, time for me to kick your ass, dude. Like you've been doing this for way too long. And I don't know if that's going to be next season or not. Maybe it could be this postseason. We saw it with Chris Paul last postseason. He started to look washed up against the Pelicans. I hope not, but I think next year is it for the Lakers. If they don't get it right, if they don't drill home the roster that they really want and hope can land them back in the title contention, I don't see it happening with this group, especially with like LeBron and AD at the forefront. I just don't see it happening any further than that. I think next year is it.
Well, LeBron, this was like, I remember last season is when his age finally started catching up to him, where he like tweaked his ankle, and then it was the groin issue he had. Now it's a foot. I think it was both feet, actually. He hurt one foot, and then there was that one time, if it was like a month ago, which was why he was out, but remember it looked like he said he heard something pop.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and that was a completely different foot than what he had been listed pretty much the entire season with on the injury report. So this is like the first time, though, that probably within the last year and a half that LeBron has actually showed signs of being 38 years old, because prior to that, the guy was never hurt at all. And as much as you want to like people could say what they want about LeBron, but it's kind of depressing, to be honest with you. Like, I don't like him, like, personally. I think he's a turd, but he is a great player, and he is arguably the best player of all time. I mean, I'm not going to get into that with anybody, but you could certainly make the argument that LeBron you can argue that. But before he started off his career, he played 79, 80, 79, 78, 75, 81, 76. Like, the dude literally played like 70 games, 69 games up until he came to Los Angeles. So he has 1,400 career games. I mean, that's a lot of mileage for a guy.
I was going to say, his age 33 season, he played all 82.
It's a lot of games, and you can't knock a guy for that.
You don't see many 33-year-old players in the NBA anymore playing all 82 games.
I couldn't even get off the couch at 33.
I'm approaching 29, and I'm already achy. Like,
it gets worse. Trust me.
I don't doubt that at all.
You know what's crazy? Like, it's a little off topic, but one night I was curious. I'm like, I wonder if I compare the 2009-2010 season to now, the amount of guys who have played at least 70 games or more. The Lakers had 4. The Sixers, Elton Brand, Samuel Dalembert, Iguodala, and I think it might have been Drew Holiday. They had 4. That's 8 right there. Can y'all even come close to naming 8 players that have played 70 games or more this year? I know I couldn't. Mikal Bridges, Kayvon Looney.
I think Russ would have been had it not been for the little layoff he had between. But Russ is another guy who's just been healthy. Like, he barely missed time. But Kayvon Looney never misses time. And it's weird because every time you watch Kayvon Looney play, he literally looks like he's going to have a heart attack. He's like fat, like kind of fat, but not. When he runs down the court, he looks like he's dying, just running back and forth. But the guy is durable shit. So, and
Russ actually is at 70 games exactly.
Wow, good for him. That's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean, next year. Go ahead, honey. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, other than like the one injury where Beverly dove into him, and then another freak injury, he's played over 70 games every season except 3, 4.
That's amazing.
So
yeah, and I mean, you could say
play. Whew. Sorry, Dennis. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I'm getting fired up now. But you can say what you want too about, like, who the hell was I just thinking of? I just drew a blank.
Mikal,
you're talking about Mikal.
No, there's another guy I was going to bring up that plays a lot. See what happens when you get older? You just can't think of anything. Brunson. I don't ever remember him, like, missing significant time.
That's true.
Yeah, he's missed, like, isolated games here and there, like a bruised foot or something, like maybe a game or two. But he hasn't. I don't think he's been out for a prolonged period of time this season at all. He's probably at 70 or close to it. That's another one. That's a good one.
I remember Tatum missing a lot of time. Even the guy played through a pretty nasty shoulder injury. He didn't even in the postseason last year and didn't really let on to how severe it was. A couple of years ago, like before his time with the Nets, Harden was not hurt a lot.
That's true. He wasn't really taking many rest games either.
Anthony Bradley Beal was durable. No, I'm only kidding. Bradley Beal was never healthy.
Anthony Edwards is another guy that's terrible. And he even says people, like, stop taking rest games, just play.
That's a good one. Yeah, Anthony Edwards. I was reading an article online that said that he had an ankle injury recently, right? And then he forced himself out the boot and was like, "Nah, I'm going to play. Like screw it, I'm going to play again." And he's back out.
It cost him like 3 games.
Yeah.
So if you built a team, though, I would probably say if you built a team around Westbrook, even now, Anthony Edwards, Brunson, Bridges, like guys who just play, they would be a championship contending team.
I was going to say they're going to win a lot of games, just not even based off their talent, just the fact that they'll be available every night because who knows who the hell is going to be out there for the other team they may be playing.
I mean, how many teams you look at a bunch of teams over the years that they have fallen below expectations just from a health concern. And I don't think Sabonis has missed a lot of time either, thinking about it.
That's true.
Sabonis had like a fractured thumb and he's been playing through all season. And I got to give it to Embiid. I like rode Embiid's ass but the dude like showed a lot of heart last year when he had a fucking face mask on and he tore a ligament in his shooting hand and the guy was still playing. So in any event, I just wanted to touch on next season we have the Lakers have LeBron, AD, Beasley has a team option, Mo Bamba is under contract. Rui is a restricted free agent. Vanderbilt still signed on for one more year. Devon Reed, Scottie Pippen Jr. is going to be a restricted free agent. Max Christie and Cole Swider is still under a two-way. But other than that, the guys that they aren't bringing back or that could possibly walk would be Austin Reeves, Gabriel, Troy Brown, Schroeder, Lonnie Walker, and D'Lo. So to me, like, you still have the heart of your team back, and you can actually use this as an opportunity, but to kind of like get better. Because some of those guys that are leaving, with the exception of like Reeves, it's like whatever, you're just freeing up salary. But if we touch on the new CBA, it might make things a little challenging for some teams next season.
That's a great point. I know Reeves, I was listening to him on the Point Forward podcast, like Andre Iguodala and Evan Turner's podcast, and he just flat out said, he was like, yo, I'm going for the most money. And we'll see. I mean, I can't fault the guy. He's from a small town in Arkansas. He probably never expected in a million years to be in this position, thriving with the Los Angeles Lakers, playing next to LeBron James. And he's played well. I mean, some team's going to try to get him away from the Lakers and probably throw a hefty bag at him. If he takes that, I can't be mad. What will it result in what other teams hope for? We'll see if he can do this consistently as one of the not main guys, but with a bigger role, expanded role. Like he's further up on the scouting report than he is now because he's probably not even like 4 or 5 on the Lakers scouting report. So we'll see, but I can't fault him for that. But everyone else you said, yeah, I agree. I'm like, Malik Beasley, he's a solid player. I like his game. Jared Vanderbilt's a great defender, but like they're not backbreakers. If we lose them, it's not like, oh, like there goes their title shots because they can mean adding someone that we don't even anticipate. So
Vanderbilt will still be there so I don't even mind Vanderbilt being around, to be honest with you.
He's a defender.
D'Lo would be the main guy that I would try to re-sign out of those guys that you named.
I agree too. I'd like to see D'Lo back just at the right price because I know a lot of guys out here are chasing bags and they want those big gains. All want at least 100 million. I want at least 120 million. I hope he doesn't come with that approach. I'm hoping that he's willing to get settled, come back to LA, fully embrace it with open arms, allow him to do the same to the Lakers, and just have that marriage in a good financial spot.
Yeah, we talked about health. D'Angelo Russell is not the pinnacle of health either. So
he's missed time since he came back to the Lakers. He's missed like close to 2 weeks almost now. He was out for a handful of games, came back, was out for a handful more. I'm like, dang, bro.
And he has 3 seasons of less than 50 games played.
Wow, he's young too. He's what, like 24, maybe 25 at this point.
Yeah, 20, just turned 26 not too long ago.
Wow, D'Lo's been in the league for a minute. Wow,
he's 16. He just got his learner permit. Speaking of marriage, Reeves is from Arkansas. You think he's married to his cousin or a relative?
I hope you guys go and listen to him on Evan Turner and Iggy's podcast because first of all, his voice, I'm listening to it. I'm like, hold on, this is not his voice. This has to be edited. And then he was like, yeah, I'm from a town of like 110 people. Like, I'm like, bro, what? Where are you from? 100 people in one town? What?
I was gonna say he is built to go to the Boston Celtics.
Yo, that is.
And I'm not saying it just because he's white.
I was gonna say they got enough white guys on the bench.
I mean, I know they do, but a white guy that learned from LeBron and now he actually has the skill and is like he's pretty cold. Like that's just made for Boston.
That's yo. I didn't even think. I was thinking like a team like the Hornets or the Rockets, a team that sucks, is going to try to get him. But that makes a lot of sense because they got Sam Hauser now. They got Mike Muscala. Yep. They're known to have a white guy that can shoot with
Peyton
a little
Pritchard.
You know, exactly. Yo, you're right. Yo, Boston.
There's some questionables too. Like, is Malcolm Brogdon mixed? Is Derek White mixed? Is Blake Griffin mixed?
I know Blake Griffin is just because I remember seeing a picture of his mom and dad, and his mom is a ginger, so she's super white, and his dad is very black.
Yep.
So like seeing them together is literally night and day. And I don't mean any disrespect by that. That is literally night and day. And I'm like, damn, how did Blake Griffin come out of that?
That's racist.
No, Fish is spot on. I remember as a kid when I was like real younger watching the Thunder and Clippers game and they showed Blake's parents. I'm like, nah, there is no way. His mom, yo, like Fish said, she's a ginger. She's pale. If his dad is standing outside, he's gonna blend in. You're not gonna see the man. You're not gonna see him.
He's got to smile before anybody sees him.
I was just about to say, if he smiles, that's the only time you're gonna see him. You're like, oh,
I didn't know black dudes fucked with gingers though.
Yo, you gonna send me down a rabbit hole? Oh my! One of my biggest recent crushes. She's a really good friend of mine, but I've always been in love with her. She's a ginger, so it makes a lot of sense.
So bring her on. Bring her on. I'll try to sway her to go on a date with you.
I want to bring her over. That's what I want.
Holy!
Nope, that's the game. That's the game.
That's the game I remember too. That's what I mean. The thing is, Blake Griffin's face doesn't even look like either one of them.
Neither one of them. His complexion looks like neither one of them. His hair, none of them.
Literally, none of him looks like either of them.
That's awesome.
That's a throwback picture. His dad, a meme I saw on Twitter a while ago is like his dad looks like the handsome Squidward from SpongeBob. Remember that episode of SpongeBob where they had the handsome Squidward? It's like, yeah, that looks like Blake's dad. I'm like, yo, what? I couldn't unsee it. I'm like, yo, y'all crazy.
It's either that or the black Mr. Clean.
His dad looks like a bad motherfucker, though. He's probably one of those guys. What's his name? Tommy. He's probably like, yo, Gail, come on, get some of this. And then next thing you know, it was fucking love at first sight.
Next thing you know, Blake Griffin comes out.
Yep. I wish I looked like a man like Tommy Griffin. Jesus Christ.
Seriously.
You don't want to fuck with him.
No, not at all.
He's probably like 6'8".
One of them has to be tall. Actually, I see a picture here of him next to Blake, and he's only like maybe 2 to 3 inches shorter than Blake Griffin.
Oh yeah, I ain't fucking with him.
So yeah, he's.
How tall's Gail? 5'1".
She's at Blake's shoulders.
And Blake is like 6'9", right?
Yeah, so she might be like 6 foot.
Damn.
So
good. Wow.
But anyway,
Tommy, good for you, brother. Fucking Tommy G, laying it down on the redheads.
So
and she doesn't even have a fat ass too, which is surprising.
Do you know this? Because
can we just move on?
I was gonna say, I was like, I haven't seen a picture of that, so I cannot confirm nor deny.
Just go before we get fined from the FCC or whatever the fuck happens on this thing.
So you brought up the CBA because you were talking about
yes,
contracts,
please, thank you,
and stuff like that. So do you have the specifics of the CBA up in front of you, Dennis? Because
I
didn't
did
have them
extensive research on this, and if you give me a couple minutes, I'd like to go down. And I was doing some homework on this one.
All right.
So I'm going to read. I made a list of stuff, so I'm going to sound like a moron, probably, even more than I normally do. But so from what I was reading, the deal ensures no lockout, at least until 2029.
Wow.
Okay.
So the hard cap is still in place. So there's the soft cap. From what I understand, I'm not a CBA expert, so we might even realize, but this is from my understanding. So I know a lot about like pizza and stuff than I do about like actual. So, but the NBA has the soft cap and then they have the hard cap, and under the system, the more you go above the soft cap, the more you're paying in luxury tax.
Right.
Historically, a lot of teams haven't given a shit about that stuff, and they're willing to spend the Warriors, for example. However, there's a new thing that's introduced called the secondary salary cap apron, which once you hit 17.5 million above the luxury tax line, there's a couple things that will happen to your team. You will lose the ability for the mid-level exception. You will no longer be able to utilize a cash option in trades. You can't move first-round picks 7 years away. You can't sign free agents in the buyout market, and you can't take in more money than being sent out. So the first apron is $6 million. So if you acquire a player through a sign and trade, and you use the non-taxpayer and mid-level exception, you're not allowed to cross that line if it's going to make that happen, if that makes sense to anybody. Like, it's one of them things you got to read through like 3 times before it makes sense. The luxury tax is around 53% of the total of BRI, it's called, or basketball-related income, which is divided across 30 teams, which is how they come up with that number. Teams spending above the cap pay the tax to the league and to other non-luxury teams. So if the Warriors, in theory, would end up paying the luxury tax, it would go to the league and to the other teams, kind of like to make it competitive.
Wow.
I see.
So the new rules, had the new rules been implemented, and shout out to like Shams, Bobby Marks. There's another guy in CBS who wrote something. I read like 4 articles. So, but under the new rules, transactions for Dante DiVincenzo, Joe Ingles, Danilo Gallinari, and John Wall would not have been able to happen. At the same time, the Clippers would have not been able to trade for Norm Powell and Robert Covington and got them from the Blazers.
Wow.
So in 2016 was when the last time they had a CBA, and that was the last time there was a significant salary cap increase at that time. 32% salary cap increase in 2016 based upon the deals that the NBA made with Disney and, they were Disney, ABC, and I believe it was Turner. So yeah, Turner. So there was a 32% spike in the salary cap in that year. So what had ended up happening was there's a bunch of players signed for big money. And then what happened though in 2018, it ended up like all these teams were strapped for cash, so nobody could sign for big money. So under the new rules, they have the salary cap, regardless of any deals or anything. Under the new rules, the salary cap cannot increase by more than 10%, regardless of how much the league makes in revenue. Wow. So even if the league gets a shit ton of money, the salary cap, it can't increase by a significant amount, like 32%. The new CBA also talks about new spending and trade opportunities for teams at the middle and low end of payrolls. So teams that are not willing to spend money will kind of be like incentivized to be a little bit more competitive. The new CBA addresses load management. So in order to be eligible, you'll need to play at least 65 games at minimum to be eligible for awards.
Okay, they made it 65. I remember because you and I were wondering what they would make the cutoff for amount of games for that.
Right. The play-in tournament may make its debut next season. So 8 teams will be in the play-in. It'll be based on seeding. It'll be based on the record, I believe, from November onward. The final. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Play-in tournament, as in to get into the playoffs, or the middle of the season tournament?
The in-season tournament. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Will be played in December, and there'll be 8 teams. The final 4 will be played at a neutral site, which like Vegas is like the biggest front runner for that.
Okay.
The winners, the teams that are going to the finals will play an extra game, so they'll end up playing 83 games that season, but that 83 game will not count toward their final regular season standing. However, it will be played for money, which I think it's like $500,000 a player, from what I read correctly, would get paid for winning that. I think they wanted $1 million. I believe it was 20 or 500,000 per player, but just remember this hasn't been like finalized. So, but this is what they believe done, but there may be some tweaks here and there. A couple more things I'll get to, and then I'll shut up. They increased the limits on contract extension. So players right now to a team who are eligible for an extension are eligible to receive 120% of their salary. That has changed. It's now going to 140% of their salary. So under this new system, Bobby Marks used an example, Jaylen Brown, under the old system would be eligible for a 4-year extension worth $165 million. If he stays in Boston under the new rules, he would be eligible for a 4-year, $189 million contract.
Wow.
So as you can see, they're trying to keep players on teams. Basically, teams will no longer have a restriction on supermax contracts. So you can, it used to be 2, now you can have more than 2. The qualifying offer period for restricted free agents has been reduced from 48 to 24 hours.
Wow.
Licensing revenue will be added to basketball-related income, which that is the first time, and now players benefit from the BRI. Increased from 2 to 3 two-way contracts per team.
That's nice.
That's cool, yeah.
Discussing making all NBA teams positionless.
I hope so.
Which that's probably going to happen because, people like centers haven't been able to benefit, even though some centers should be all NBA, but they can't because, it's the positions making it possible for, a certain amount of set. Like guards, if you're a guard and you have a worse season than a center, they would be on the All-NBA team just because of the positions, which is not fair when it comes to guys earn contracts and stuff based on whether they make All-NBA teams. So that only makes sense.
Yeah, like Embiid and Jokic should both be All-NBA first team. Just
right, but then you get into like if Sabonis is considered a center, if your AD is considered a center because he played a lot, I don't think he's played any other position this season other than center, AD. So it kind of makes it fair, especially when a guy gets jeopardized just on the fact that they're listed at a certain position, even though they really, let's just face it, nobody plays positions really anymore. I mean, you got Ben Simmons playing center. TJ Warren has played center. Couple more. Say hello to. Here he is.
Hey.
What's up, Bogey?
So, NBA participants at the draft combine will undergo physical exams. So this is just only for guys who participate in the draft combine. Everybody needs physical exams. However, for anybody who doesn't participate in the combine, then it doesn't matter. Okay. And then the last, which is another significant thing, this last one is NBA players can now invest in NBA and WNBA teams.
Wow.
Ooh, wow. I like that.
So there you go. I spent an hour reading this thing. So
damn. I appreciate it because that's a lot of stuff all in one. That's a lot to unpack. But I will say right off the bat, the things I like that last one that they can invest in NBA and WNBA. I bet a lot of guys will start investing in WNBA as well because the women's game has been on its way up. And then I do like the having an actual games limit for awards. The only thing is I hope they don't like cheat that system where they like throw a guy in for 2 minutes and then sit him the rest of the game. It probably will happen. I just hope it doesn't.
No, it will.
Yeah. And then the whole salary cap thing is interesting to me because it sounds like you said, they want to keep guys on the same team. Also, they don't want to have the super teams that just buy a bunch of over-the-hill guys that still can contribute a little bit and also trade for, like, little people here and there and then make this team in a matter of a season to go win the championship. And I like that because those kind of teams, honestly, like even, I mean, this you could probably consider that as the Sixers too, but I just don't find them as fun to watch anymore as like some of these other teams that have had either trade one guy here and there and grown their team or whatever it may be. So everything sounds good to me.
Well, it's supposed to give the players a little bit more, and it's supposed to make it a little bit more competitive. So we'll see if it incentivizes players to stay on a team, especially if they can earn significantly more money by signing extensions with their current team. Now, NBA finances is very confusing, as in most professional sports organizations are. That's why these teams literally have to hire people to interpret these things to realize, we can do this move or we can't do this move based on the language of the CBA, which is not a short document. It's about 500 pages, the last one that was written. So it's very extensive. I probably was wrong on about half of the things that I said, or based on my interpretation of what it was. So if I'm wrong, whatever. I am not a fucking lawyer. I don't know. So, but that is based on, the simple ones of, the extensions and the draft combine and all NBA teams being like, some of these are easy to digest, but when it comes to the ins and outs of like the financial aspects of it, who the fuck knows? Like, it's crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A lot of the points that you made, a lot of things that have been now laid out in the CBA are interesting. Fish, I agree with you. The investment and the ability to be able to invest in NBA and WNBA teams is super intriguing. I love the fact that they're emphasizing staying in one location. I'm interested, to your point, like players trying to circumvent these game played regulations now, like making sure that they hit that threshold. And to your point, Dennis, like what are teams going to do to play salary cap gymnastics? Like that's what I'm interested in seeing. Like I love how all this stuff is laid out, but I'm really interested in seeing how teams respond to it. Like you said, the Warriors wouldn't have been able to add DiVincenzo. The Bucks wouldn't have been able to add Ingles. Those are two significant pickups for both teams. Ingles, I know he was recovering from an injury to start the season, but he's bounced back well. He's probably going to be in their playoff rotation. DiVincenzo has been in the Warriors starting lineup for like the last few weeks, and he's going to be in their playoff rotation as well. So I'm very interested to see how teams play those games of gymnastics. Like, well, it wouldn't work if we did this, but we can do it this way. We can go through that loophole and make that happen. So I'm very interested to see the approaches that these franchises take. But I love the idea of keeping a team together, keeping a player in one spot, because there's just so much movement, and the movement isn't super distasteful to me. But when you move to go to a team that like you shouldn't have gone there, like they're already loaded. Like you don't need to go there. Go do your own thing, a la KD with the Warriors. Like go do your own thing. So that's what I'm really hoping that curbs. But
you can't say that, because the minute you say that, KD will throw a temper tantrum and act like a 2-year-old.
He's gonna come in here. He's not even gonna. He's gonna be right outside my front door, ready to kick my ass to talk about I'm the Slim Reaper. But I will say, fellas, I have to drop. It's 8 o'clock. I have a prior commitment. I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come on and speak. Hope to be able to do so again soon, hopefully in the playoffs. Much love to both of you. Great to see you guys and talk to y'all. And
I will say,
you gonna call it redhead?
Right before.
If you're the redhead girl, can you just give my man's a chance up here? I mean,
Exactly. Seriously.
Thanks, y'all. I'm just going to be my mom at Home Goods. I've been redecorating my basement. I got a new table, so she's helping me find some decorations for the table. So I'm going to go to Home Goods for this national championship game.
I got you. Real quick, just give me your finals prediction. The two teams, who's going to win, since we haven't hit that yet. So before you leave, just give me that.
I'm going to take Milwaukee, and damn, in the West, that's so hard. I'll take Golden State because they're getting Wiggins back, and I know they're a horrible road team, but I'll take Milwaukee, Golden State. I like Milwaukee to win this one again. Sorry, Fish. I know you're a fan. Y'all got to play the Celtics in the second round. It's looking like y'all have a chance though against Boston. A lot of people are saying y'all don't got a chance. I will say though, real quick, against Boston, everybody's like, "Oh, Embiid always fucks up in the playoffs." I think he's going to thrive regardless of who y'all play. Against Boston specifically, I'm worried about Harden because they could throw Smart at him, Dragon at him, White at him, even Jaylen Brown for stretches. So that's who I worry about. But I think Embiid's going to feast this postseason just as he has all year long. He's been, that guy.
I'm hoping he's finally fully healthy for a postseason. That's all I want.
We all want it, and we need it here in Philly. I'm not even a Sixers fan like that, but we need it. We need this city hype. We went to the World Series, went to the Super Bowl. Let's get to the fucking finals, damn it.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, thanks for coming on. Let's make sure we decrease the amount of time between BJs, okay?
Agreed.
I'll try my best. It's a
100%.
Love always. Enjoy the rest of the show. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Sounds good. See you later, BJ.
Peace out.
Next time DJ comes on, like my toes are going to curl and my eyes are going to roll back into my head.
Just like the blue water ice.
Yeah, it's like it's been so long, BJ.
I know, seriously. It's been a while since I've talked to him in general, even outside the podcast. So, and I know he's been really on the grind for lots of different like basketball related jobs and everything. He's been looking into trying to get into some freelance writing and stuff like that too. So, yeah, great to have him on. Everyone out there, I don't think he has a Twitter anymore, but just be on the lookout for BJ. He's probably going to pop up here sometime soon. I know he's definitely on LinkedIn plugging a bunch of stuff that he's doing, so check him out on there as well. Always great having him on. So, any other thoughts about the CBA before we move on from that?
No, but there's just going to be teams that they don't care about whatever. They're still going to spend the money and figure out a way to make it work.
Agreed. I do think it's interesting that you brought up how, like, half of the moves the Clippers made wouldn't even be allowed. Like,
well, it's weird the Clippers spend all this money to be good and they're not.
Right. They spent all this money and everyone just keeps saying what they could be, but then Paul George gets hurt. Then Kawhi gets hurt. Then Norm Powell got hurt for a little while. And they stacked their team even more this year. I mean, they got Bones Highland. They got Russell Westbrook. They got, who was it, Plumlee as a backup. Like, and they still kind of look the same.
I mean, they really, like, if you look at their team, like, from this year, from last year, like, Mann is still around, Morris, Batum, Zubats, Kawhi, Paul George. Like, really the only thing that's changed is, like, Reggie Jackson's not there anymore, even though he started the season there.
Right.
Other than that, they really are the same team that they were last year. They have Westbrook now, but they had John Wall for a minute.
Right. Oh yeah, and they got Eric Gordon. I forgot they got Eric Gordon.
But honestly, like the meat and potatoes of the Clippers really hasn't changed.
No, I agree. And the thing is too, they got so many people that they can't even give them. There's not enough minutes to go around. No. Like Eric Gordon would be a decent offensive option off the bench, but so is Bones Highland. So is Norm Powell. So is Terrence Mann.
I think the way like the Celtics play their rotation, which you have like your five guys.
Yeah.
Like you have your starting guys, but you have Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart really play a bulk of the starters' minutes.
Right.
Robert Williams is coming in for about 20, 25 minutes a game. Al Horford does what he can, which he still contributes. You get Grant Williams, but really your bulk of your work is coming from your three core guys, which I consider Marcus Smart a core guy because of his defensive acumen.
Agreed.
And then you have Malcolm Brogdon, who is a guy that is a really, really, really good player, but he should not be a starter because he's not durable enough to stay healthy. So it's really smart that they kind of limit him. And then they have Derek White, who is a capable starter, but is not like he can play whatever you want him to play.
Right.
But the problem the Nets had earlier is they had all these guys on the team. You need to find a consistent rotation.
For sure.
And if you're worrying about getting guys minutes, that should not be an incentive to put a guy on the floor, is whether they're going to pout or whether you want to make sure they get minutes. Not every guy on an NBA team is going to get minutes, and that should be okay. There are guys who are going to play 30 seconds if they're lucky.
Right. No, I completely agree, and it's interesting because it feels like Ty Lue is still trying to find that consistent rotation, and it's like you only got a week left. So if your rotation's not consistent in the final week leading up to the playoffs, it's going to get a little murky when it gets to the playoffs, and then you're finally trying to find that consistent lineup. I mean, granted, I haven't watched that many Clippers games this year, but every time I look at box scores and look at stuff like that, like the minutes are fluctuating for everybody except Kawhi, Paul George, and I guess Zubac. Well, no, Zubac's minutes have been fluctuating a lot too. It's really just Kawhi and Paul George that their minutes aren't fluctuating. Everyone else's are.
Well, now's not the time to get cute. Like, remember, like Westbrook was, Lou was starting to like have Westbrook play like 20 minutes instead of like you know what I mean? So, but you got Kawhi and Paul George. Well, Paul George is hurt, so, but you have, now's the time to hit the gas on Kawhi because that's what you got him for, is the postseason. There should not be anything, such thing as load management. Your two best guys are Kawhi and Russell Westbrook. They should be playing about 35 minutes a game at least.
Agreed.
Zubac should be out there. Marcus Morris's old ass should be out there. Terrence Mann needs to get his shit together off the bench. And this is you need to shrink your rotations. Go down to 8-9 guys.
And
are you really that worried whether Amir Coffey plays or not?
I know, right? And my thing is too, for those, by the way, not watching the video, we did move over into our preview and scenarios for the NBA playoffs here because we're done with the CBA stuff. But it's weird to me.
I'm more confused about the CBA than I was before I read all that stuff.
Seriously. It's weird to me how they use the center spot in their rotation too. Like one game, it doesn't even seem matchup based really, because they'll play a game where having a bigger center in would probably do them well, and then Zubac plays like 15 minutes that game. And then in another game where they probably need to speed it up more, Zubac plays like 28 minutes that game. And I'm like, what exactly is the rhyme or reason for how much he plays, how much Plumlee plays, and how much you go small ball? Because it feels like they want to go small ball more often than not. But at that point, if you face any other team that has a solid center, I don't think the Clippers are good enough to beat them in a 7-game series of just small ball.
The Clippers aren't that good. They're not going to do anything. Everybody at the beginning of the season was ranting and raving about how good the Clippers were going to be this year, and they're not that good. And I thought everybody was a crack that said that. But if the Clippers, they're not going to do anything. But once the season's over, then now's the time that they really need to think about, is it worth it anymore to keep pushing? You know, do we need to keep Kawhi? Is he, when he plays, he's top 5 player. maybe even more, top 3, like he's Durant level type player.
Mm-hmm.
But if I were like the organization, I would be sick and tired of wondering whether he's going to stay healthy, and I'd be sick and tired of wondering if Paul George is going to stay healthy. Because they can't, neither of them. Even though Kawhi Leonard has been healthier than Paul George has been.
Which
Paul
is crazy.
George cannot stay healthy ever.
No. There's always something in the season where he goes down for like 15 games.
And it's like the stupidest thing.
Yeah, agreed. So, with that being said, let me bring up the standings right now since we are talking about the playoffs. So, as of today, if the season ended today, we would see the Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Cavs, Knicks, Nets as the top 6 seeds.
Can you make that bigger?
Yep.
Thank you.
So, as I said, Bucks, Celtics, Sixers, Cavs, Knicks, Nets as the top 6 in the East. The play-in for the East would be between the Heat, the Hawks, the Raptors, and the Bulls. And then in the West, you got Denver, Memphis, Sacramento, Phoenix, Clippers, Golden State as the top 6. And the play-in would be between the Lakers, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, and the Thunder, as the Mavs are still a game out of that 10 seed to be in the play-in.
The Mavs ain't making a playoff.
I don't think they are either. And with the Clippers are pretty firmly in the middle of the pack, although, hell, they lose a couple more games and the Lakers and the Pelicans win 1 or 2 more, and they're all of a sudden in the play-in. So the Clippers aren't safe by any means. And if they do have more injuries or they try and pull some weird shit with rest days at the end of this season, you might see them in the play-in. And I wouldn't be all that surprised. The only ones, and I'm not even talking just mathematically, but the only ones I'm confident in staying in the straightaway playoffs without going to the play-in are the top 4, the Nuggets, Grizzlies, Kings, and Suns. The rest of the teams are pretty much a crapshoot, especially with how bad the Warriors have been on the road. They still are waiting for Wiggins to come back, but he is on the way back. There's still a whole lot of question marks there. The Pelicans, I saw Zion's finally playing 3-on-3 with coaches, but who knows how long that's going to last.
Who cares?
Exactly. Minnesota, they've had their fair share of injuries, and they just dropped a game to Portland, who literally is not trying to win anymore.
Portland's injury report yesterday, and I'm not even kidding, Damian Lillard, Jeremy Grant,
Simons,
so there's your big 3 guys. Ryan Arcidiacono, however you pronounce his last name. Arcidiacono, thank you. Trendon Watford was on the injury report, even though he played. Cam Reddish was on the injury report.
Oh, God. Was Nurkic?
Nurkic was out.
Yep.
So there's 7 guys just on the injury report. So the Blazers starting lineup actually was turned into it was a Eubanks, Watford, Thibault, Shaden Sharp, and I think they played Skylar Mays at point guard.
Yeah, I think they did.
So literally that was the Portland Trailblazers starting lineup.
And the Timberwolves couldn't even beat that when they even had Karl Anthony Towns back.
They had Cat, who played. Anthony Edwards was playing.
Gobert played.
McDaniels, I think, was on the injury report, but he ended up playing. Austin Rivers was on the injury report. I believe he played. There was a shit ton of, pretty much the Timberwolves were at full strength, with the exception of they didn't have Naz Reid, who's going to be out for a while.
Right. That's just it. And on top of that, Anthony Edwards put up 37 points, and they still couldn't win off it. Conley even played. Conley played 35 minutes. Kyle Anderson still played.
Yeah, they're just not good.
Literally nobody on the team no starter scored more than 11 points other than Anthony Edwards. And then after that, the next highest is 13 by Kyle Anderson, who came off the bench.
They're just not good.
No.
And people thought adding Rudy Gobert was going to, and we were talking about it preseason how they were not going to be good.
Exactly. We said from the start that this trade is very dumb and it will only make you go backwards. Which here they are, still in the play-in.
Right.
So like, yeah, I don't
barely, but
Well, yeah, barely.
The Oklahoma City Thunder wasn't expected to do anything this year.
Nope. Especially
Zero.
when Chet Holmgren went down.
Who now appears like he has a chance to play this season.
Right.
The Pelicans haven't had Zion, even though they should be playing better than they have been. There's no reason the Pelicans should be an 8 seed, considering you have, even though Brandon Ingram missed time, but you still have C.J. McCollum and Valanciunas and Trey Murphy and Herb. Like, you have a good roster, even without Zion, and you're telling me that the Lakers are better than you are, and the Warriors are better than you are, and the Clippers are better. You should be at least above those three teams.
Yeah. They were in like the top 3 not that long ago.
I think the Western Conference Finals, I don't know, but I could see Denver and Sacramento being in the Western Conference Finals.
I could see it, and honestly, I would enjoy that a lot. I think that would be a good series.
I wouldn't even rule out Sacramento going to the finals, to be honest with you. I think it's about time that people start acknowledging Sabonis as a top 5 player in the NBA and start putting him at the same level as like a Jokic or a Luka, because he's that good.
Okay.
Like, Sabonis should be in the MVP conversation.
I do agree that he should at the very least be in that conversation, and nobody ever brings his name up.
Now, he's not as good as Jokic, but he should be looked upon in that same light.
Right.
He should be, I mean, look at what he's doing. I mean, he has brought the Sacramento Kings with Mike Brown as the head coach. De'Aaron Fox playing his best. De'Aaron Fox is at an all-star level finally. And those two guys together have played so well, and everybody else on the team has complimented them so well. Harrison Barnes has done enough. Kevin Huerter has finally looked like a pretty decent player after being in Atlanta all those years. Davion Mitchell still doesn't do anything, but he at least contributes. Keegan Murray has had some really good games. So the Sacramento Kings, I think, are talented enough and deep enough to where they can. And Malik Monk, Jesus Christ, that guy should be 6th man of the year, or at least in the running. But the Sacramento Kings are so underrated, and I mean they're 47-31 for crying out loud. How is nobody talking about them making at least a Western Conference Finals? And Memphis, oh my God, Memphis is such a train wreck right now. Just from a terms of, you have Dylan Brooks and John Morant on that team. There's no focus on what's going on at all, and Memphis is. I could see them getting creamed.
Oh yeah, I agree. I could see them losing in the. I don't want to say the first round, because I guess first round, like say the Lakers win their play-in or whatever, they would play the Lakers. I could see them beating the Lakers. Although at the same time, if the Lakers are fully healthy, I mean they could beat a lot of teams. So maybe not. But
I think just because Phoenix added Durant, it doesn't mean anything to me. I'm still not sold.
Well, yeah, we still need to see that whole team gel together more than a couple games. Like
maybe next year if they all stay healthy, get more time on it. But I honestly think Sacramento should be considered a favorite to win the Western Conference.
So, based on Basketball References like probability report for the playoffs, it gives Sacramento a 16% chance to win the conference and a 5.5% chance to win the finals.
Okay, but 16% should be a little higher than that.
Well, so just as a comparison, the Nuggets are obviously the favorite at 25%, and then Memphis is at 23.9%, and Sacramento's the next highest at 16%.
I mean, Basketball Reference is telling me they're more confident that the Memphis Grizzlies can be a better playoff team than the Sacramento Kings.
I guess so, just based on. I mean, they usually put a decent like weight on defense, and Sacramento's defense is one of the worst in the league, but their offense is also one of the best in the league. And that's why, like, you're not just going to get there by chance up to that third seed. But I guess they're just giving that nod to Memphis has a decent offense and a better defense, and then the whole they probably just are giving it because of John Morant too.
We put John Morant, give me a break. But we put a little too much emphasis on defense, right? Mm-hmm. It's been proven that if you're a good offensive team, defense don't matter.
True.
You can really be horrible at defense, but as long as you're putting up enough points, you're fine. You have to play just enough defense to score more points than the other team. That's it.
And I will say, just looking at these standings and stats right here, they are the only team averaging more than 119 or more points per game, and they're all the way up at 121.4.
Yeah, that's a pretty big number.
Yeah. I mean, if I scroll a little to the side, you'll see their defense also gives up 118 a game. But it's not the worst defense in the entire league.
Hey, like I said, their average for offense is more than their defense, so they score more points than their opponents, and that's all that matters.
That's very true.
So,
I could definitely see them at least making the conference finals, at the very least.
You know what? Fuck it. They're going to the conference finals. I'm guaranteeing they're going to the conference finals.
Okay. I like to see.
Based on what I saw from Boston, just absolutely decimated Milwaukee when they last played. Just from the simple fact that they played a zone defense against the Bucks, and the Bucks couldn't figure out how to get inside. And honestly, I've been screaming about that forever, even dating back to last year when I had to say I'm sorry to the internet community because they wanted to. But I was screaming, and I don't know what it's going to take for people to listen, but I that the Bucks are just they're not a good shooting team. Like they did not shoot well in the postseason last year, which is the reason why they lost. But they're like, well, Giannis averaged 49 points a game. Well, he averaged about 23% shooting from deep. You don't see a fucking problem with that? Nobody does?
So they are 18th in the league in field goal percentage. And they are 13th in the league in three-point percentage. So they're decent, but they're not great. Their main strength is their defense. I mean, they're second in the league in opponent field goal percentage, and they're 7th in the league in opponent three-point percentage. So
we talking about the Bucks?
Yes, the Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks they're still not as good defensively as the Celtics are.
No, it's true. So it's
I think the Celtics have a more complete offense.
Agreed.
Honestly, at this point, like Giannis is great, blah blah blah. But if he can't get inside, if he can't dominate you, which teams started figuring that out last postseason because that was a big reason why the Celtics, I believe, caught on to that, and that was the first time they actually started making. Can you pull up the stats while I rant? Because I want to know what he shot in that series against Boston. It wasn't good, but
yeah. Go ahead.
But last season, Boston was forcing Giannis to shoot the ball, especially because Middleton wasn't there. So they didn't have to worry about anybody shooting because Middleton wasn't around, and Drew Holiday wasn't shooting well either in the postseason, and Grayson Allen certainly wasn't shooting well. So if you stop them from getting inside and force them to shoot, it's going to be a problem. And I think the Celtics are a good enough team to where they know how to exploit the Bucks, and I don't think the Bucks stand a chance against the Celtics.
I would agree with that. So yeah, this top one here, for those watching, that's Giannis, and then the second one here is Drew. For those listening, Giannis shot 45.7% from the field out of those 7 games. He shot 25% from 3 and 67.6% from the free throw line. Drew only shot 36.4% from the floor and 30% from 3.
Does nobody have a problem with that?
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But everybody was like, but Dennis, he averaged 34 points a game. I don't care. When a guy takes as many shots as Giannis was forced to take in the postseason because there was nobody else who was capable of even doing anything. Who the fuck were you going to have last year be the number 2 offensive option outside of Drew Holiday, who wasn't playing well? If Drew Holiday's not playing well, who's going to take the reins because Chris Middleton wasn't available?
Right.
Bobby Portis? Maybe? Brooke Lopez? Okay, but are you trust those guys enough offensively to where you could feel comfortable against that team? And then you're looking at Grayson Allen and Javon Carter. I mean, come on.
Right.
When you look at the
that also shows like Giannis was putting up over 5 turnovers a game. And then
can't say that though. Can't say that.
Not just that, but then outside, so Giannis averaged 33.9 points, Drew averaged 21. The next highest is Pat Connaughton at 10.3.
No, can't bring that up. Can't say anything about.
That's an issue.
Pat Connaughton is your number. It was your top, your third best scoring option against the Celtics, and you're wondering why they lost to the Celtics.
Exactly. And the thing is, a lot more teams, like you can say what you want about Giannis being so dominant, so on and so forth, but a lot of teams are starting to figure out the formula of beating the Bucks. And in the playoffs, it does get a lot harder. I know they won a championship before and everything, but it's first off, it's amazing to me how there's a lot of NBA teams that struggle with like the most rudimentary fucking zones. Like we're talking about zones that college teams can figure out how to beat. And you're telling me NBA teams can't figure out how to beat that? You can't have anybody shoot your way out of, an opposing zone. It's ridiculous. But anyway, if you are forcing Giannis to continuously stay away from the basket and then forcing the rest of the team to beat you in a 7-game series, more often than not, you're going to beat the Bucks. That's really what it comes down to. And Davis says hi, by the way.
Hi, baby.
So that's just kind of how it goes, especially if you're in a zone, which the Celtics did a good bit. It shows you're going to get Giannis away from the hoop. That's obviously way out of his comfort zone. We know Giannis can't shoot threes well. We know also Giannis doesn't shoot free throws well. So if you're having him shoot more threes and more free throws and not easy dunks or easy stuff in the lane or whatever it may be, then it starts to get hard for them. Especially we watched when Kawhi was on the Raptors. When Kawhi was covering Giannis, all he was doing was making it a living hell for him to play in the paint. Anywhere else, he was kind of giving him room because he knew Giannis isn't going to beat you in a 7-game series by shooting threes. He's just not going to do it.
No, hell no. And there hasn't even been really like any improvement. So the year the Bucks won the title. So the year the Bucks won the title, which was not last season but the previous season, so the 2021 season. So Giannis shot 18% from 3-point in the postseason.
Right.
Does nobody has a problem with that? But you know what bailed his ass out is the fact that you had Chris Middleton in the lineup, who at least shot 35% from 3. All right, but when you don't have Chris Middleton like last season, and Giannis is averaging 22% from the 3-point line. On top of that, he's shooting 67% from the free throw line. And in the year they won the championship, he shot 58%. Nobody has a problem with that.
Right.
But if you bring this stuff up, that's when all the internet morons start getting on your nuts because they're like, you can't say that Giannis averaged 34 points. Well, I'm saying it. He's not. They figured him out. So kiss my ass. I'm sick of it.
It's true. And the
Put
thing
this on
is,
YouTube, by the way.
okay.
Tell all the Giannis people kiss my ass. I'd rather have Jason Tatum right now because at least when Jaylen Brown doesn't play, and I'm sorry I'm interrupting you because now I'm fucking fired up because I'm still pissed. But even when the Celtics didn't have, even if they don't have Jaylen Brown, okay, you still have Derek White, you still have Marcus Smart, you still have Brogdon, who Brogdon is if Brogdon could stay healthy, he could be an all-star, like that caliber player. But as long as you have Brogdon, you're good. Even Al Horford can light it up.
True.
When he wants to.
I think in that series he shot like 35% from three.
I mean, look at that the one game that Grant Williams had like 7 3-pointers.
Yep.
So Boston's a better offensive team, and they're certainly a better defensive team.
The only guy they roll out there that can't really shoot threes is Robert Williams.
Right, but he gets about 90 rebounds and 4 blocks a game. So we're
exactly. Everyone else is a threat to actually hit threes. And that's the thing is, I feel as though nobody gives Chris Middleton the credit because he is way more important to the Bucks than people realize he is.
They should have realized that last year when he wasn't around.
I agree. But they're like, oh, well, this year he missed a lot of the season and they're still the... What'd you say?
Have you ever seen his teeth, by the way?
Yeah, they're a little jacked up.
He's a millionaire. You can't do something about that, Chris?
I used to think the same about Harden. Harden's were all messed up for the longest time. I don't know if they still are or not because I haven't really paid attention. But I don't get the people that make all that money and don't fix their teeth. That would be the first thing I would have fixed.
Yeah.
But anyway, people have even said like, oh well, they got the first seed and Middleton hasn't played all that much this season. It's like yes, because regular season is completely different. You can be the best regular season you want to be and still lose in the playoffs because your team is solid in the regular season because maybe more people stayed healthy than other teams and you played better. But when it comes to the postseason, if you don't have the right amount of shooters, the right amount of mix in your team around your superstars, it's going to be a glaring hole that a lot of teams are going to just attack that weakness. Because in the playoffs, everything is put under a microscope, the finest details are all brought out, and everyone figures out how to beat certain players, certain teams, whatever it may be. And the fact that Middleton wasn't there to help bail out bad shooting from the rest of the whole team, because Holiday, despite his 21 points per game, he had to jack up a shit ton of shots just to get there because he wasn't hitting anything. And I love Drew Holiday, but like, if he's not hitting any shots, you're really not playing as much like uptight defense on him because you're like, oh, he's cold as hell anyway. You're not gonna go smother guys like Bobby Portis or Brooke Lopez can hit the three, but like they're not gonna go out and smother him all the time. They're not gonna do all that to Grayson Allen or Pat Connaughton and all those guys. So at that point, yeah, you're clogging the whole lane because go ahead, try and beat us by shooting threes. Didn't happen.
I mean, thank God they added Joe Ingles, so that gives them a little bit more flexibility in terms of shooting. But, I mean, when you go and look at the regular season, so Boston beat them in December on Christmas, 139-118, so they beat them pretty decisively. Mm-hmm. The second game, Milwaukee took in overtime, barely.
And that was the game that Boston had, like, none of their starters playing.
Yeah, so if you look at that overtime game on the overtime game, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm bringing it up. Okay, I just want to see who is available. So, yeah, the Celtics. Oh, yeah, that you're 110% correct, and I completely forgot about that. So that's the game that Boston started Blake Griffin, Grant Williams, Samuel Hauser, Mike Muscala, and Derek White.
Yeah, that's a
And
god awful starting five.
and Milwaukee had Giannis, Lopez, Holiday, Connaughton, and Grayson Allen starting. And the Celtics still, I mean, granted, Giannis scored 36 points, but Giannis also shot 12 for 26 from the field, which isn't great.
Right.
It's like in the 40% range.
Right.
He went 11 for 19 from the free throw line. Well, I mean, if he would have made 2 or 3 or 4 or more of those free throws, that game wouldn't have even had to go in overtime. Nobody says shit about that.
It shouldn't even had to go in overtime in general, because the only guy in that starting five that gets a considerable amount of playing time is Derek White on a normal day. Like,
and then Boston just beat them 140-99. And they limited to Giannis to 0 for 5 from 3 and 11 for 27 from the field. No, you're in trouble, Milwaukee. You're in trouble, people.
And the thing is, as a Sixers fan, if I, out of the top 4 seeds, so obviously you're taking the Sixers out of it because I'm talking from their standpoint. If I had to rank the Bucks, Celtics, and Cavaliers in order of who I would rather play to who I would rather not play, it would be Milwaukee, Cleveland, Boston.
Who you'd rather play versus who you'd so going from the team you'd rather play?
Yes. So, like, I would rather play Milwaukee out of those 3.
Well, I 100% agree, because postseason Embiid is a different guy.
Right.
And if you get Embiid in the postseason, he just takes over everything. So
exactly.
If you Embiid's a guy you don't want to see in the postseason, I guarantee you, because the problem with Embiid was that he's a bad player. His problem is from a health standpoint. Right. But if you get Embiid in the postseason, so last postseason Embiid averaged, that was last postseason. So the postseason, last postseason was when he got hurt, so he averaged 23 points, but the previous season, he was averaging 28 points a game. So, but he's a double guy in the postseason.
Oh yeah, he's working a lot more on the boards. He's working a lot more on defense in the postseason than he is in the regular season.
He's playing 39. He played 39 minutes, and that was a guy with a mask on and a ligament damage to his thumb that needed surgery.
And BJ brought this up before he jumped off, but the reason Boston scares me is Al Horford usually plays decent defense against Embiid. And then on top of that, all of their wings and guards can switch and play a very good level of defense. And then Marcus Smart, a top level of defense against Harden and Maxey. With the Bucks, you have Drew Holiday, who will lock down probably one of them. But outside of Holiday and Giannis, there's not that many people on that team that are locking somebody down defensively wise, especially a guard or a wing. And I know, like, the internet, if anybody watching this is probably going to be like, well, the Bucks just killed the Sixers the other night. It's like, yeah, the Bucks had a really good first quarter, and then the rest of the game was pretty much even. The Sixers just didn't have a scorching 5-6 minutes to come back from what they dug themselves into. But that's not going to happen 4 separate games to win a 7-game series. And Embiid has done a pretty good job defending Giannis, especially when it comes to defending him in the paint. And I'm willing to bet, if Doc Rivers is a smart defensive man, that he'll probably have Embiid on Giannis most of the time, because Embiid's weakness on defense is when he has to cover a center that pulls him away from the basket that can shoot threes. Well, then in that case, I'm putting PJ Tucker on Brook Lopez, chase him around out there on threes, whatever, and have Embiid cover Giannis, who has to go into the paint because he's not beating anybody by shooting threes. So then that's going to neutralize a lot of things right there. And then on top of that, like I said, outside of Drew Holiday, I don't give a fuck who else is playing defense out there because they're not that good, and they're definitely not as good as who the Celtics could throw out there.
I mean, you could put D'Anthony Melton on Drew Holiday.
Also true.
And
then you don't even have to waste the energy of Harden and Maxey on defense with Drew Holiday because you have Melton out there on Holiday.
But Jaylen Brown, though, or Drew Holiday wasn't this last game that the Celtics and Bucks played. Jaylen Brown still went 13 for 20. So I'm not a math guy, so that's 65% from the field he shot, if my math is correct.
And he had, 30 points, right?
He had 30 points.
Yeah.
He shot 60% from three, and Tatum went 12 for 18 from the field and 8 for 10 from three. Even Al Horford had 14 points. Marcus Smart didn't play well, but at least, Marcus Smart he played defense. Derek White's good enough.
Right.
But
and then I go from, I would rather play the Bucks out of those three teams because then I go to Cleveland and you still have a solid defensive center in Jared Allen who can do a little bit of everything. Evan Mobley, who is continuously getting better. Donovan Mitchell in the midst of the best season of his career. Darius Garland, who you can put him up with any of the best guards in the league and he's going to hold his own. I mean, you have a very well-rounded team in Cleveland that I think if they come into the postseason with any kind of momentum at all, or if they start to hit their stride, I could honestly see Cleveland making the conference finals or even the finals. They're that good of a team that they could do that based on the trajectory of who they play and the momentum they have going into it. And I feel as though people are taking Cleveland as if they might win a first round series and then they're going to be terrible after that. But they really could make some big noise, just like we were talking about the Sacramento Kings.
I mean, a team that has Donovan Mitchell, I would not count out. A team that has Darius Garland, Jared Allen, and Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley, though, has been playing like he's making that next step.
Yep.
So yeah, if I would probably say that Philly and Boston will probably meet in the second round.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing that will save. If Boston, if the Cavs end up surpassing the Sixers and the Sixers end up going and playing like the Knicks and they make to the second round,
mm-hmm.
and it comes out to where the Sixers are playing the Bucks in the second round, I think the Bucks though I think Philly would rather draw the Bucks in the second round. So it might even be beneficial to lose some games, to be honest with you.
I completely agree because, the Sixers always play well against the Knicks, really. They've historically played well against them for a long time, and I think they match up well with the Knicks pretty easily. And then, so right off the bat, 4 or 5 seed, whatever, then you play the Bucks. I would rather do that. So
if you're listening, Doc, can you just sit Embiid in the Harden out and Maxey for the rest of the season?
Exactly.
Just lose.
So I would rather do that, and Embiid said it before, and I'll reiterate that the rivalry with the Celtics hasn't been much of a rivalry ever since Embiid came to the team because the Celtics just always kick the Sixers' ass. And it's just like they're just always set up well to match up against the Sixers, and I would rather not play them at all. Now, do I think the Sixers have like a fighting chance to win that series? Sure. They're always going to have a fighting chance as long as Embiid is healthy. But like I said, I just don't see the chances of them beating the Celtics higher than the chances of them beating either Milwaukee or Cleveland. But
if the Celtics I'm sorry, if the Sixers end up going and drop, because right now they're the 3 seed. So if they drop to a 4 or 5 and they get up to the other side of the bracket,
Yep.
to where they meet Milwaukee, that's their best chance of making the Eastern Conference Finals. If they stay where they're at right now and they end up with Boston in the second round, then you're probably looking at Boston and Milwaukee. But if Philly goes into the other bracket, the other side of the bracket, and Cleveland goes to 3, or some way, I don't know how if this is even possible, but anyways, if Philly ends up in the other side of the bracket, then we're probably going to be looking at Boston and Philly.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
they gotta lose. They gotta lose.
I agree. And I'm just hoping no matter who we play, I hope there's not a playoff game on the day of my wedding, because I don't want to. If they play terribly, I don't want to have to be worried about it.
That would be all right.
Hopefully.
That's what I was for.
But so I'm gonna say, to wrap things up for the playoffs predictions and all that kind of stuff, I'm gonna say Eastern Conference Finals is going to be. Assuming that the Sixers stay in the 3rd seed, I'm gonna say Boston versus Cleveland for the Eastern Conference Finals. I think Boston goes back to the finals. Western Conference Finals, I'm saying Denver versus... I'm probably going to go Denver versus the Warriors. And I'm saying Denver goes to the finals. So it's Denver versus Boston, and I think Boston wins.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be either Boston, Milwaukee, like I said, or Boston and Philly. Either way, I have Boston winning everything. And then in the Western Conference, if Sacramento if Golden State could be like a sneaky team to make the finals.
Right.
Because if Golden State gets in, if they beat Sacramento and they're matched up with Memphis or Los Angeles, they could beat both of those teams easily. And then if Golden State ends up playing Denver, they could beat Denver if they're 100%. And I'm talking like Steph Curry, Clay, Draymond's on his best behavior, Wiggins is back, Gary Payton's 100%. Kuminga plays well, DiVincenzo played. That whole team is so deep, and they're still deep. So I think that they need to get past Sacramento, because if they get past Sacramento, then they have a legitimate shot at least making the Western Conference Finals. But I'm still going to say right now that Sacramento and Denver are going to be in the Western Conference Finals. However, I'm also not ruling out Golden State and Denver.
Okay.
But I think it's going to be Denver, Phoenix, Sacramento, and Memphis in round 2. And then I think Denver will beat Phoenix, and Sacramento will beat Memphis. And then so that's how that's going to work out. Okay.
So your final is Denver, Boston also?
Denver, Boston. I think I don't know. That one, I'm not going to just write off the Nuggets, though, to say that Boston's going to walk all over them. I really don't know.
True.
Because Jokic is a bad man.
He is. Jokic is very good. It's the rest of the team that I'm concerned about. It's not Jokic.
Well, it should be. It's Jamal Murray. Like,
that too.
Which Jamal Murray is going to show up?
And is Michael Porter Jr. going to even be healthy?
Well, it's not even. It's what Michael Porter is going to show up.
That also.
Is he going to be a good Michael Porter? And because the problem's not Aaron Gordon.
No, not at all. Problem's not even really Caldwell Pope either. He's been fine this season.
No, but he's fine. He does.
And
he
Bruce
does what
Brown's
he needs
been
to.
fine.
The Bruce Brown is fine. They do what they need to. It's all going to come down to Jamal Murray.
Yep, agreed.
You
all right,
do
so
what you got real quick.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you ever remember this guy?
What is it called? What are we calling it?
Remember this guy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
This one's kind of easy because we've been talking for a while, so I'm gonna make it a little easier this week.
Okay.
All right, but I'm only going to give you 3 chances. You can use them, after 3, that's it. No more.
All right. That's fine.
All right, so here we go.
Mm-hmm.
He has played for 4 NBA teams in his career, beginning in 2004.
Okay.
He played for the same team twice.
Okay.
He also played in China.
Okay.
He was a first-round pick.
First round pick. All right.
He last played in the NBA in 2012.
2012.
And I'm going to give you an easy one after this, just because I think it's funny.
Okay.
Which is probably going to get it, but I think it's funny, so I'm going to say it. There's allegations
Oh God.
that he had made sex with somebody's mom.
I'm gonna go with Delonte West.
Yes, you got it. See, I just thought the last one was funny. I knew you were going to get it, but I thought it was so funny that I had to say it.
No, that one is great. If you said the teams too, I probably would have gotten it.
No, I know, but that's why I didn't say it. But I was hoping you weren't going to get it until at least I gave you that 5th one, which was make sex with somebody's mom, allegedly.
Yeah. Well, I was bouncing in between Delonte West didn't come up just yet, but I was thinking of Amari Stoudemire. But I was like, I didn't know if he went back to a team that he already played on. And I wasn't sure when he stopped playing either.
Next week is going to be much more difficult.
All right, I'm ready for it.
As we wrap up the regular season this week.
I am ready for that. I'm ready for the playoffs finally, too.
I'm ready for Summer League.
It's true. I mean, I don't want basketball to end, but I'm ready to see some playoff basketball.
No, but at least Summer League. Summer League is so fun. It's like a new season.
I need to go out to Summer League at least once in my life.
I'm down.
Someday. And Sarah asked, how's Bogey?
Sleeping.
Bogey made his appearance on the show for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But unless
he's
you
been
have
a good boy, though. No, he's been good.
Good. Unless you have anything else to get off your chest, I think
no,
that's it
like
here for
my
us.
face hurts because I was yelling about the Bucks.
I know. I'm ready for bed at this point.
Shit.
And
so, yeah.
Davis says she misses you.
Oh, I miss you too, baby.
So that is it here for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening.
As
to
she hears
episode.
about her, as I talk about Delonte West making sex with somebody's mom.
I know. Gotta love it. That's what the Atlantic Files is for. It's a family show.
Yeah. we were talking about never mind. I'm not even going to go back
We're just
to
gonna
that.
leave it there.
we were getting into dangerous territory with BJ though. It was BJ's fault.
Exactly. We're blaming it on BJ. But anyway, that is it for us.
On the BJ.
Exactly. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening to another episode of the Atlantic Files, the #1 podcast on the #1 division in the NBA, brought to you by the Underdog Sports Podcast Network.
For now, till they throw us up.
Exactly. Make sure you subscribe. We're on Spotify. Our videos are on Spotify as well, so you can check them out there. We're on YouTube. We are on Twitter. We live stream to Twitter. We live stream to Facebook, and yes, we do. And all of our audio is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all the podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts. So make sure you subscribe.
Not on Twitch though anymore.
Not on Twitch, no, because none of you watch us on there. So
we're not playing Call of Duty.
We took it off. But thank you, everybody. We'll catch you guys next week.